The problem with the LGBTQ community is we're being run by childless cat ladies. What's up, everybody? Ty Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. All right, you guys. That, of course, was a play on something J.D. Vance said that got a bunch of people in an uproar. We're not going to talk about that today. Maybe we'll talk about that at some point. It was just me having a little bit of fun. But seriously, when it comes to the Olympics and the opening ceremony, what in the bearded blue drag queen is happening right now? Once again, the queers have made it harder for the LGBTQ community to be seen as anything other than freaks. But I guess if it makes them feel better, it doesn't matter how it affects anybody else. It's all about them and their feelings. And that's something that I and a lot of gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transsexual are tired of. It's become too much. We've had enough. It's time to secede. And the problem really is that right now we are being run by a bunch of people that were bullied in school. That's what it comes down to. We've got people trying to exact revenge in the LGBTQ name and calling themselves queer and acting like we're all the same. Queer needs to be its own thing. I've said this before. I will stand by it because I'm not sure how anybody thought this was going to be a good idea. And I know that the director, the guy that was actually in charge of the entire thing, was trying to be inclusive of everybody. The actor, comedian, and theater director who has explored LGBTQ plus themes in his stage work also wants to ensure his celebrations show that there is room for everyone in Paris. The opening ceremony will be a success only if everyone feels represented in it. Okay, well, I don't feel like Christians feel like they were represented in it. So if you mean just everybody that's a queer freak, I'm sure that you accomplished. They feel seen by you. They feel represented by you. Unfortunately, there are a lot of Christians that feel very offended by what it is you put on. So be proud of yourself in helping close more doors for the LGBTQ community. And how does offending Christians by recreating the Last Supper using drag queens and queer people, how does that not alienate a large part of the population that technically we need the votes of to get the things done that we need to get done? I'm beginning to wonder if maybe I had the wrong idea of what was supposed to be happening in the community, because I personally thought that as LGBT, what we were eventually working towards was a sense of normalcy, was to be included in society, not to take society over, not to completely change what it is that's been established already. And yeah, there will take a little bit of adjustment in order for us to fully integrate, but I think we're going in the wrong direction. And I think what's happening here is that we really are being run by the people that were bullied the most in school. That's what seems to be the common thread. So I read an article about the actual director. His name is Thomas Jolly, and he's a queer artistic director. And in the article I read, he talks about how when he was in school, he got bullied because he wore yellow Doc Martens. Jolly, who was brought up in a small village in Normandy, recalled that he was bullied at secondary school. I had yellow Doc Martens. All day I was jeered at because of my yellow shoes, he said. I thought, do you realize how absurd this is? Theater helped him realize that anything is possible and was where he found himself. Well, good for you, girl. But that doesn't mean everybody else wants to take this stupid ride with you. That doesn't mean you go offending a bunch of people and making it harder for the rest of us that just want to live regular lives. Yeah, bro, I get it. Nobody liked you when you were a kid, and now your way of trying to get back at everybody is shocking the world whenever you're given an opportunity. But what you forget, and what a lot of the LGBTQ community forgets, is that the more we alienate people, the more we have people turn against us. The more people turn against us, the more people vote against things that are in our interest. And maybe in France that doesn't matter. I don't know how it works over there. I'm not going to pretend to know how it works over there. But when you're thinking about the world stage and when you're thinking about the world in general, you have to think about the way that different people are perceiving what it is we're doing. And that's where I think it takes a little more responsibility than just deciding I'm going to push this agenda. Because in case you guys can't tell, the general public is tired of the LGBTQ agenda. So while you may see this as your chance to be groundbreaking, the actions you take could negatively affect not only LGBTQ people in your country, but in the world in general. So when people talk to me about in these countries, they're not even allowed to be gay, they're not even allowed to celebrate gay pride. Yeah, that's because in the countries that allow it, they're seeing the way that it turns out, and they're saying, no, we're not going to let this get a foothold in our country at all, because if we do, they're going to overdo it just like they have everywhere else, and we're not trying to have a society that's run by these people. And I never thought the goal of the LGBTQ community was to keep telling people what freaks we are. And I know that that might sound crazy with as many tattoos I have and as many piercings as I have, but this is a form of self-expression. If you talk to me person to person, you will find that I am very relatable. You will also notice that I'm very common sense. You will also notice that I have a lot of respect for other people. And I think that's what's missing in performances like this and in displays from the LGBTQ community, is remembering that we still have to respect society at large, because there are more of them than there are of us. So we may have this idea of we're going to take over the world, which I'm not a part of that. I'm not trying to take over the world. I've got my little space here on YouTube, and I just try my best to relay to people where I think we can find some common ground, so that hopefully I can help out my community in general. And when it comes to my community, I don't mean what's being pushed by the queer agenda, because I hate at this point that gay is lumped in with all of this craziness that makes us look bad. When it comes down to it, this country, the United States, there are a lot of Christians in this country. And I hate to break it to the queer activists, there are a lot of gay people, lesbians, bisexuals, even transsexuals that identify in some way with Christianity. As weird as that may sound to some hardcore ideologues, that is something that's very common. Not all of us have completely chosen to turn our backs on Christianity or religion in general. I've talked about it before. I was raised Catholic. I will always be Catholic. Was there a part of me that not felt offended, because it's very hard to offend me, but at the same time looked at that Last Supper scene and thought to myself, why is that the imagery that they chose? And I know they're trying to get clicks. I'm a content creator. I understand trying to generate clicks, but at the same time, can you not generate clicks without offending a large part of one of the countries that's considered the most influential? Without a doubt, United States is one of the most influential countries when it comes to liberal agendas. So when you're having an Olympic opening ceremony and it looks more like a teaser for the next season of Drag Race, how is that helping us out? When you have bearded drag queens performing and you try to say, we just want to make sure that everybody feels included. Okay, I as a gay man don't feel included by that. Would I occasionally watch that kind of thing if I just happen to be in a gay bar and it's going on? Yeah, sure, why not? I'm not going to walk out over it. I don't care that much. But when you force it down the world's throat and try to say, this is what the agenda is, no, it's not. And I'll be very clear, and I think a lot of LGBT people are starting to get more and more clear with the queer activists that your agenda is not our agenda. The fact that you got bullied in school doesn't mean that we all want to be a part of your exacting revenge on the enemies in your head that bullied you when you were a kid. The people that bullied you when you were a kid probably don't care. Probably aren't watching and like, well, he showed us. They don't even know that you were directing the Olympic opening ceremony. All they know is the Olympic opening ceremony was a mess. It wasn't even particularly cool. Because if it were just visually stunning, I'd be 100% on board and be like, yeah, that was beautiful and people will get it. But when you go out of your way to shock people and show people why they should be afraid of us, don't be surprised when people are afraid of us. Don't get mad. Don't call it bigotry. Call it exactly what it is. Your fault for scaring people away from LGBT and now making them think that they don't like us and that we're not going to respect them and we shouldn't be in these positions going forward. Anyway, that's the way I feel about this whole Olympic debacle. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments. As always, I'm just going to ask that you like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to leave a comment just to help me on the algorithm and you don't know what to comment, just leave a knife, because these queer activists are probably going to come for my neck. This has been Ty Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world.
They bought into his bullshit.